Hey, this is Greg Cunningham with Honest Charley Garage, visiting the 51 Street Rodder Road Tour car for 2013. We've completed the chop top and moving on to the next step of the process, it's the lead work. You can see Delton and Richard are filing away on the hood. The hood has been modified, metal finished very well, but now they're filling up some of the seams, and they'll move on to the quarter panel patches, which Dennis Carpenter products were made to lap weld into place, and then leaves us with a step seam, so we're going to lead that up. We typically butt weld those, but Dennis Carpenter made some good patches, so we have chose to install them the way that they were designed for. It's fun to see this type of work. This lead work is, they call it a lost art. It's not really lost. Here we are doing it. I've spent years of my life melting out lead to repair it properly. They used to use lead back in the 30s through the 50s to fix dents and rust out and stuff like that. So being a metal worker, I've melted that lead out and spent days making new patches and stuff. And so I had this idea that lead was a bad thing, but it's really useful as long as you don't abuse it. So our guys are using lead properly here. There's a depression in the center of the hood that's been filled with lead that they've filed on. We didn't want to weld that up because it would have warped the hood like crazy. Welding that much length on a flat surface would warp it up. It'd be hard to chase that down. So they've leaded it rather than use body filler. That's the right thing to do. They're going to lead the quarter panels. That's the right thing to do on a lap weld. So they're doing all the right things, and we're just doing it smart. We're not going to abuse the filler, whether it be lead or the polyester body filler. But each one of those products have their own place.
So here we are working on the 51 Street Rodder Road Tour car, and we're getting into the leading process. So pretty old school, traditional way, back before they really had Bondo that was worth putting on a car. So we're going to walk you through the process. And thanks to Eastwood, they've hooked us up with all of our good lead, tinning, and butter and everything we need. So the first step of the process, grab your torch. You want to get your metal a little bit, kind of warm, and you have your Eastwood tinning butter. And once that gets warm, you'll actually see a process. It'll almost look like it's galvanizing the metal. And what the tinning does, that allows your lead to stick real well. And you can always tell when you don't have your metal quite hot enough. Once you throw the tinning butter to it, it'll turn almost like you're going to throw a little bit more heat to it. It'll almost turn like a silver color. You want to get your bronze wool, keep everything good and clear. Yeah, you'll throw some more heat to it. And basically you just take your bronze wool and you work it until you feel good about the metal getting tinted. Because the crucial part, this is the most important part, if you don't get this tinted, your lead is not going to stick whatsoever. You can see right when you brushed it on, he had the right temperature on it, because it automatically tinted right when we threw it to it. So that's always, go ahead and heat it. That's always a good sign. Get a little harder than that. All right, now we have the post tinted. Now you want to make sure the the metal's good and clean, what you'll do, you first want to take you a little bit of a clean rag with some lacquer thinner. And what that'll do, that's going to get all the oil or any kind of oil-based contaminants off your area before you let it. Once you get that wiped down, you make a mixture of baking soda and water. And all that's going to do, that's going to neutralize any kind of acid you put in there from your tinning. Just get it wiped down. And now, the tricky part, we're ready to lead. So Eastwood has sent us some 30% lead bars, 3070. And you would almost think that's a lot of lead, but this doesn't go as far as you would initially think it would. Get some gloves on, you don't want to burn your little piggies. All right, so now we're ready to start melting our lead. So Delton's gonna come over here, start getting our base metal warm. And they have this like your paddle butter. And what that'll do, that'll keep your lead from wanting to stick to your wood as you're trying to smooth it out. And you can be pretty generous with this. You can't really overdo it on butter. Yeah, and the whole trick to this is knowing your temperature, knowing what your lead bar looks like right before you stick it down. You'll see it start to get pretty shiny. Then you'll know you'll be ready to work with it, because if you let it get too far, it's just going to run off like rain, like water off a duck's back. And if you get it like humped up, it's not a big deal. You're going to take the file and you're going to get it smoothed back down anyhow. You would rather have a little too much than not enough, because it's kind of a pain to go in there and fill up any kind of low spot, because in order to melt new lead, you're going to be melting the surrounding lead that you've already put in. And that's when it starts, I guess, trying to get on your nerves. You start losing patience with it. So you're definitely better off getting enough lead in right off the bat. But you can see old Delton's pretty old school. He can like butter and biscuit. He can pour it to it. He's pretty slick. And another reason I guess people have steered away from this is because Bondo is just so much faster nowadays. Like when you think about the 50s and your true lead sleds, they didn't have Bondo. Yeah, I don't even know if they had Bondo. They had Bondo. It just wasn't worth a whole lot, huh? So that's what's cool about this project. We're actually doing everything the old school traditional way, which will give us some major gratification when this car's all said and done. We know like what kind of work went into it. There we go. You can see the bar turning just a little bit silver, and then it'll stick. It won't want to run off. But the cool thing about the tinning process, if you don't want lead to stick to a surrounding area, as long as you don't get it tinted, it's not going to stick. It's going to flake right off. So when you're doing a whole lot of, like you're doing some custom tail lights and you're having to sculpt something out of lead, that's going to help you in the process. And like with anything, I guess the more practice you get, the more eye you're going to know like how much lead to put in it, and that will save you a little bit of work down the road when it comes to filing, especially in tight places like around the drip rail. That's going to be that's going to be kind of tricky to get everything filed down. So yeah, in this stage of the game, you kind of want to pay attention to how much lead you're putting and where you're putting it. 'Cause that'll sure make it a lot easier. You know, because I've been doing stuff like this since I was 2, so I'm pretty skilled at it. You can cut that out. All right, Delton's using one of the Eastwood soft metal files, which will make quick work because lead's a real soft metal, and you can see the shavings all around. It just eats it up pretty quick. So you know you can get to where you're going without having to spend a whole lot of time and energy. The finish step, like once we've got everything leaded, it's going to be off to the body shop for some primer. I mean, there still might be a few spots, little bitty spots we want to cover with some body filler, but on this car we're wanting to use 100% lead. We're going to try to stay away from any of the body filler. So yeah, a good lead job, you'll be able to roll this right in the body shop and let your body man take care of it. He ought to be able to handle it from here. You know, just remember when you're leading, you're dealing with a lot of contaminants, a lot of like lead and acid. So it's always handy to make sure as you're doing the tinning and the leading that you want to wear a good respirator. And preferably not just a dust mask, because in the state of California that's been known to cause cancer. Thank goodness we're down here in South in Tennessee, so we don't really have to worry about it. But the folks out there on the West Coast, wear you a good wet respirator, you know.